This is the game played by Takahashi and Lam. Takahashi from Japan and Lam from Hong Kong. Again, they are very quick in the opening.
So, why would a player sit back and in the way that Song is used to sitting back and think at this point in the game? Both the players are used to shooting.
And Takahashi prepares his orange juice, as he always does.
What you'll be thinking about is which of those various lines maybe
So
Lee doesn't know.
very quickly they are getting into the mid game.
And so once they've decided which line they're going to play, they'll take a few more moves as they have done, and then they'll settle down. And they will still know this position.
This opening black detoured from the so-called draw lines. So this is not a draw tree, it's a bit slightly wide is ahead. That's what I think. But maybe at this body point, white has some choices, like e2 or d7. He needs to come up with one of the best choices.
And he is going to be playing the game in such a way that he wants white's reward to remain whilst white plays through. But this is actually a two-wall game.
So maybe he takes a little while.
White is in a very similar position, so is also
maybe he's thinking about d2 or d7. And white d2, black e2, afterwards white c2 may work. And
there is no the reason that we would stop and think at this point is because the left edge looks like it's going to be played out. And he's deciding what's the best way to play it out is he probably end the question just that what sort of game do I want and starts to play in that way.
on the other hand, white has maybe better move at f7. Obviously, he may be thinking about this f7 move. What will happen after white f7?
He seems to have a patience that surpasses anything I've seen before in a fellow. When he wants someone to play through,
White f7, black h3.
he doesn't rush into taking edges when other people would. He doesn't get scared. He calmly looks it out.
And then what? Maybe white h4, h5.
To be able to force his opponent to play through, and he gives it up.
I think the position is slightly better for white, just a little bit. Oh, white c7. I didn't think about this. c7, d7. It's very natural consequences. Then maybe after this c7, d7, then to f7. After white moved to f7, black has some options. Maybe take some moves to the left hand side edge No, no.
lay out a substantial line in the bottom of the board.
My prediction is not correct.
So if white can keep the
White
game moving,
came
so
to e7 and black
black
h3.
doesn't get the opportunity to do that, and forces black to play towards the top, then
I don't know why
he wants to say
white moved to e8, but
so
probably
Jansson is trying to
white f7
keep it in down towards the board eventually.
will lead to the black's reaction to the black e8. So first move to e8 will prevent this scheme for black. But the question is if e8 square is so important for black or not.
Not that specifically, but just a general idea. And so white, as I said, is really thinking about how he can keep playing to keep making.
So it is white's turn.
Towards the top of the board.
White should be careful not to make g4 disk white. Otherwise, if white moves to h4, black d8 is going to be a good move, because if white h4, black d8, white c8, that move will flip 4 diagonal disks. So white cannot take c8 after black's d8 if white makes c4 disk white. This is one point.
So without keeping to the left and to the right, looking to agree discs that will give.
So white move to f7.
So normally h2 would be that move.
Then black g3. So white should play to h4 or h5, otherwise black will play to h6. Before coming h6, white should play either one of h4 or h5.
White could also do h6 before taking
I'm sorry, the live Othello is not actually alive. It's a bit slow. As you see, the actual point and position already have moved to move 23. Move 22, f7, move 23, g3.
and so they will know
For this particular tournament, we have a lot of technical problems. I'm so sorry.
this is the first time I feel that Link has sat back and is seriously considering what's happening. He's thinking about whether to take h2 now or not, because it's ugly, it sticks out, it's uneven, it gives black potential opportunities later in the game, but only if white plays through the bottom. Okay, so he's gone for the h6 option first.
Okay, now the position is agrees to the actual position.
And as I say, I'm not sure whether there's an advantage to doing this or not. He doesn't have access to h5, so he can't give away that h by taking two moves to black's one.
So which do you think is better, h4 or h5? If white moves to h4, black will go to f8, then white e7, black h6. It's one of the possible lines. If white begins with h5 move here, black may play
some people make when they first start playing a feather,
maybe
they
d8
have to play edges. If
or
black goes
a4
g6
or f8.
and it looks like white might go h5
Looks
and black
like
might go h1. However,
h5 is
if
slightly
black goes
better
g6, white
because
can
the
take h2. Black doesn't have access to h5, so white can then
because if
therefore
white
take
can
h5, and because g6
access
is
to
now also
h4
black,
afterwards,
white then also
that
gets
means the
h7, and
white
this
can
sequence
take
can't be
two moves
repeated
on the
because
right hand
black would
edge.
take one move, and then white could take 1, 2, 3 moves for that one, and take a stable edge and then process. And black has to play 2 other moves elsewhere in the meantime. And now if you imagine black playing 2 other moves, maybe at the top of the board, he's going to
But
get
it's
into
a
a very, very
bit
difficult
puzzling,
position.
that's why
Neither of these two players would make that mistake.
he takes a little time,
Nonetheless, it's an interesting thing to see.
little longer than usual
Probably has
time
been, but I don't know.
to make decision. Another thing is white h6 is also possible. Even if the position is favorable to white a little bit, there are so many options of white. So that means white need to think
As I say, the strategy here is,
all of those possibilities.
as was the case at the beginning of the game, there's a white block and wall at the top, and a black block and wall at the bottom, and whoever gets through, whoever has played through, has the advantage. Okay, so black has had to play through.
So I
As I said,
mentioned
we've left edges
h4 and h5, so now
having to play up the north edge.
I consider
If white can
h6.
play up the north edge in such a way,
If white moves
it doesn't give
h6,
black
black
one
will
more
come
chance at
to
questioning, but does manage to
d8,
keep the movement
a4,
takes the edge and has them
or
sacrifices
h5.
black's going to struggle to find any moves. He always has 6, 7, but
Finally, white made a decision, h4.
obvious that works out one more getting a move, but
So there are some options for black as well.
thinking strategically, it would be possible at some point, possibly for white to take. So we noticed that Lee thought for a good 8 minutes or so, just a few moves ago. And since then, he's been making the moves fairly quickly. So the line he played out, he knew what he was going to do in response to Song's moves. And Song has chosen to play
At some point in the future, black may play h6
right edge to white.
or
And
h5.
again, as I said, this is something that Song does incredibly well.
But the question is if
White chooses to take that edge.
black should
He may do
hurry
it
to
because he feels that
move to the right hand side edge or not.
and it's certainly possible. But at the same time, if he takes that edge and black doesn't run out of moves and white plays through the bottom, then all of white's moves become bad, and black suddenly takes huge control. So this requires careful thought. Can he take the edge and run black out of moves?
In my view, black should delay h6 move a little later.
Is another consideration.
After black f8,
White has a
black h6 will be more powerful.
because the right-handed
But Takahashi thought otherwise.
white can play d7 without flicking diagonally. He can also play
So, so white should
so if white does play d7,
go to h5.
white can
Yes.
c7
it is that.
You will see that if that's the case, black has still got the most drive on the risk, so if the other drives the same as you'll get
So d8.
So white has declined to take the edge, but has continued.
After black d8 moves 37, if white moves to e7, it's going to be unfavorable parity for white in the southeast corner. It's also called as Suekunitz trap. Suekunitz trap is a kind of puzzling situation. That even if it is black's parity, and white needs to play h7 in this southeast corner at the end, which makes the black possible to move to h8 and take other three squares. I mean, in the southeast. At the end, it's called Suekuni trap.
As it stands, white doesn't have a good setup at the top. But there's an interesting position also that has been improved.
To avoid the situation, white should avoid e7. So white moved to e2. White should play to break the black's wall upward at some point in the future eventually. So white lamp thought it is a time.
If white makes that diagonal such that black can't flip on it, then when black plays c7, which is only moving down into the south from
This white's e2 will lead to the white's move afterwards, maybe to b5.
And another way would be to cut it in the middle, but that kind of demonstrates the difficulty, because if you look at the risk circuit E4 and
Usually, after white e2 kind of move, black consider to move to d2 or f2. But in this case, black d2, white b5, black c2. It's very natural line that I can come up with.
yes, where's the one being diagonally in from the corner, and keep hold of that one.
Another idea is to prevent white to move to b5 by moving to f1 or e1 for black. If black can erase e2 white disk, it also deletes the access to white access to b5.
So the strategy is still playing out as we discussed earlier. White managed to get black to play through. White is now trying to play up the edge so that black doesn't get a stair move. White doesn't want to be the first one to play through on the bottom. Although, so long as he doesn't take the H column in the right edge, then playing out at the bottom is a bit too bad at the moment that we have B7, E7, C7 sequence.
Okay, black e1.
So long as B3 for black.
It erases the access, white's access to b5.
Okay.
if white wants to move to b5 afterwards, it's possible by taking d1 at this point,
So
d1 c1
this is
b5, or d1 f1 g1, and afterwards b5.
white needs to choose whether to wedge.
But that means
Wedges,
black 29 e1 forces white to pay some cost to move to b5, so it is meaningful on this regard.
white doesn't really want to do it. However, white could also take g1. But if he does that,
Another thing is white may take south edge c8 at some point.
another stone trap, similar to the one we had last time. So after g1, b2 is a stone trap, and just to reiterate what a stone trap is. If you imagine white taking g1, black playing in b2, the whole of the b2 to f6 diagonal is black, so white can't take this one immediately. And then next move, sorry, on black's next move, he would play d1, which would threaten to take the h1 further, and the only way that white would be able to stop it.
Another option is white d2.
b2
After white d2, white can leave the access to c2.
So g1 is a move that would be considered, but dismissed very quickly.
There are several possible options for white.
By the wedge I mean b1. But if you look
Oh,
scary
e7.
for black still, in some ways, just because the
It's a bit risky
c6 diagonal
because it creates Sueguni
is
trap
stronger.
in the southeast.
Because
But on the other hand, white can play c8 square afterwards. That means white e7, c8, two moves. There are two moves white could play in the south side and leave some options on the upwards later.
black does have the diagonal that gives away an awful lot of discs along the left edge and the top edge. But as we've seen,
So maybe black should play a4 or f2.
discs if he knows that what he gets in return fits in with the strategy that he's trying to play, and the one that he thinks is going to win.
The black strategy is
G-
let's
G1
of
is
white
really
pay
D1,
as much cost
but it kind of
as to access to b5.
follow a certain pattern, and if Lee believes that that pattern is going to win, or the strength of the diagonal, he's not going to, in that discs, even in the top left is some phasing out, there's going to be enough, then that's a consideration. But there's also other routes available. If he plays other routes,
At this point, some people may come up with the move f8 for black.
and potentially have G1 as
Yes, f8 is also possible.
Lee would have to play
But Takahashi played f2.
now allow D1 and then play a second.
Then maybe white to play c8, black a4.
As you can imagine, white playing two moves in this position.
After white c8, black a4,
Black doesn't have to take his temporary.
white may play to d2, black b5, white b6, and black a7. It sounds slightly better for white. So the bottom line is white should take the bottom edge. Yes.
It's going to end very bad. Imagine C7, D7, E7, F7, G6 being played.
So it's a bit difficult situation for black, but there are a few options. White, black take a4.
In this position, white doesn't really want to allow black to take g1 as well, so he's probably going to sacrifice at g2.
And maybe white will
So
play
he's
to d2.
still got that diagonal, which is looking.
By flipping d3 disc white, white will have an access to b5 eventually. So white d2, black b5, white b6, black a7.
And so he understands no sacrifice in.
That's not the first one I thought, but good work. So
It's one of the possible lines.
white is forced to respond.
So Yamasong was kind of said, I'm going to give up pieces in.
Otherwise, white can begin with f1. White f1, black g1, white d2 is also possible. Yeah, white came to f1. Black g1.
Stable discs,
becoming more and more
but nothing of white's other moves. So we've got a white a1, b.
will be a killing at some point.
White then goes to g1, black can go to h1. So that's not really gaining anything. And all of white's moves.
The north edge going to be a stoner by begins with the b2x square sometime in the future. That is white's only hope to cope with this situation.
And the other sort seems to be playing confident.
It's very hard for white to find the
Now Takahashi removed his glasses and put it on again.
But if he plays b1 or g1, then black just plays the other. It saves a lot of discs, and white then has to take his big ugly moves onto the board. The only not ugly move onto the board is probably e8, but it allows immediate response if the ugly response if it takes the edge anyway.
solve the problem of running out of moves. So instead, white chooses to play h6.
I wonder if there's any other options for white.
But he's always got the moves to h7. Should he need it?
Starting with g2 is possible, but it's not as good as the other one, d2. Black doesn't need to, white doesn't need to give black h1 square at this point. It's too early, so maybe white should play d2.
And so again we see some strategy of skills of that block. Now to the bottom of the board, sacrificing a corner and an edge. In this case he's got his own edge as well. And white has to play bad moves now. There's no good moves for white.
Yes, d2. Finally, he came up with very natural move.
Especially because white still has that right hand edge. Poisons everything. Everywhere he can play that. And gives black immediately good response. feel that again
It's a
his
no-brainer for
instincts and his reading,
matching the second.
superficial reading of the board will tell him
To
the
take
game
the
is
fair
lost.
limit.
However,
Corners.
he will be thinking to himself, is there anything unusual
White,
that can happen?
Black c2.
He'll be trying to find that unique,
Then maybe what about white d1,
creating
black c1, and white b5?
neither player has thought about until this point, but it's not clear that in this case there's anything that really exists.
d1, c1, b5 may lead to white d2. I mean black d2 after white b5. But if it comes this way, white may win by taking the upper edge starting from h1. So d1 seems okay, but white should be careful about Suekuni trap on the southeast edge, southeast corner.
It's not a nice feeling when you know that you're almost certainly going to lose. You want to find something
Or white may consider b2 as it is a kind of stoner on the north edge. Starting with white b2, if black take a1 corner, white play d1, black play c1, then white play b1 to take h1 corner. It is called a stoner.
He probably doesn't think it's going to happen. But it is a sign of a good player who just because they can't see the winning line, just because they can see the losing line, he hasn't shocked him thinking, just still saying to himself, maybe I can find something, maybe I can find something. He'll see something that cause difficulties. Just ask himself the question, can I make something? So he's using
So white has only 5 minutes left.
something that in this case probably doesn't exist.
Obviously he wants more time.
And I'm wondering if when he actually whether they will do it.
So the mid game to the end game, you need to consider some elements
But yeah, and someone
such as
is
parity
very aware that sometimes you can
and
be
diagonal control
I'm going to win.
at the same time.
Relax too much, and it's possible to make a mistake, misapplication, one even that you'd even thought about previously. And so he's not going to.
When you think about the parity, yeah, it's possible. White g2.
Here it's over probably 7 years.
You can play
We'll
F1
be winning.
goes for a lot by playing G2. Or you can play D1 goes for a
Another aspect of the endgame diagonal control.
So maybe just thinking if he is
If
actually
you think about the diagonal control, white should consider white b1 before z2 to make c6, d5, e4, f3 all wall disks white.
because white doesn't have access to H6.
Keeping all those disks white may lead to the favorable results at the end sometimes.
Internal discs are strong at this point in the game to suit him. As long as you don't have to lay out a line where there's two spaces, then they're going to remain by the end of the game.
most likely supposed to be over here. F1
White will probably now try and play out parity. Almost 7.
So finally black took h1 corner, white h2 naturally, then this is black's turn.
Yeah.
Four spaces. Because white goes second in the game.
We don't have a clear view at the chess clock of Takahashi's remaining time, but obviously he has more than 10 minutes. On the other hand, Lam only has 3 minutes and 49 seconds.
Lead out for
I think the only way to survive white is a5, a6, a2, or d1 before a2. It's hard to tell which one is better, d1 or a2. You need to count.
So it seems likely that black will play D1 now. What white might be not here. And black is playing D1. She might follow up with D1.
By the way, I think this is the first time to take chances to see the actual board and live Othello board at the same time for the audience.
but he hasn't really got
Obviously, there is a little bit of time lag.
No, it was in Nito World Championships in 2016 when Jan Song got to the final.
My studio is currently a bit away from the tournament room, so I don't know what's going on in the tournament room on the live Othello. It's probably a slight technical problem.
I believe it was against Gemma Frenchie. I could be wrong on that. But it was his semi-final game, and he wasn't pleased with it at all when he lost. A bump just falling across the table there. And lead catching it under the cuff. A little bit of amusement, but fortunately not at a crucial moment in the game.
So there are only 14 empty squares. Finally, white succeeded to get rid of the risk of a Suekuni trap in the southeast corner,
So yeah,
because
so I'm just reading.
black needs to play somewhere in that corner at this point.
Because later on in the tournament, if there's two players equal on score and they need to be separated for some reason, for example, getting into the semi-final, discs is one of the factors that plays.
It's hard to tell which one is better, f8 or g7 or g8.
And then black's forced to take the entire edge, but will be balanced.
And players just
Not that long,
playing
but
this out.
it's necessarily a problem for black after playing b1. I think black should be much more worried about
The line starting with the g7
then
is puzzling after white's d1. And if black starts with g8,
might be considering
well, it's another puzzling situation. White may take options such as d7 or f8 or c1 or d1. Oh, everything is possible.
Okay, this is an interesting thing for, as you mentioned, getting the last move in every region.
We can't see the exact time remaining for Takahashi.
So white would be able to black would have to play opposite, where black white, black white. What Yansong has done is played into that region in such a way that white has to take two moves. He has to take the A8 move and he has to take the B7 move. And the reason that that's the case is because black can play out one.
I think it's going to be a very close game.
So black played A7, white played 8, black plays out with 3 moves.
I would play f8.
And look at the size of black's move on the last move and understand why it's important to get the last move in each region. And consider
Now that the rival solo board is not agree with the actual board, so f8 I mean is a6 from the direction of the camera.
looks like you could go a long way in this tournament.
so this is
In other words, f8 I mean is viewing direction from RAM, Hong Kong.
b1
It's not updated.
obvious, but there's a benefit to it, it's just considering it.
Okay, so the problem is fixed.
So let's take a look at another alternative.
I would play black f8, white g8, black g7, white h8, black h7, white d1, and see what happens.
Mostly options in the northeast corner and all fit in a whole lot of discs.
Or black
So
g7 may work,
play either f1 with
but
almost
if
every
black starts with the g7, white will play d1, black, I would say g8 or c1. It's very, very puzzling. If Takahashi has enough time, I have every reason to believe that Takahashi will come up with a correct move at this position, but the time is running out. about black g7 move again. Black g7, white d1, black c1, white b2. I think at this point white is winning. So I decline the idea of g7. What about g8? g8, g8, f8 was g7. White f8 seems better because white f8, black b8, white c1. That way, yeah, white has a swindle in southwest corner. So the bottom line is maybe f8, f8, g8, g7, h8. One of the news about Mr. Takahashi Meijin is that he's going to publish a book. He finished writing recently, and I had a chance to take a look at the draft, and I was very surprised. It's very high level. It's one of the highest level ever written author book. He's going to publish that in a week or so. I'm sorry, it's written in Japanese only. But in this book, he gives us a lot of good endgame positions, endgame solitaire, that we should learn to be a good player. Like g8. Maybe he already have counted one of the sequences after black g8. Maybe one of the easiest I mean it's no detour lines is white f8, black b8, and white c1, black d1, and white b2 or b1, maybe b2. That way white can take the left hand side edge and the bottom edge and swindle in the left bottom corner. White d1. It could be a better move. I'm sorry, I don't know. There are so many options. Black c1 or black g7.
More interesting. And let's see what white will do.
Black plays c1,
People taking
white play f8, black b8, then
leave
white
black with a
b2
solid region on the top.
may work good for black, I mean white. So the white, black c1 is not a good idea.
Black managed to take the diagonal. Okay.
So another option is black g7, black g7, white f8, and maybe black b7. It seems that it's going to be a very close game, another close game.
Has the diagonal, but because there's no parity in the top left corner, you won't be able to keep that control.
Takahashi has almost approximately 5 minutes.
But white will then
On the other hand, Lam has only 1 minute.
look like follow up by playing white. Now his only option seems to be c3. Now see what white will do. B2 and A2 will both work out nicely. So this stays rather good.
Or is it possible to start with black a3? Black a3, white a8. It doesn't mean anything. Maybe black a3 is not a good idea as well. Is there any possible other moves for black?
From now on, because most moves will be pretty obvious.
Takahashi is doing the final counting. He needs to make a decision in a couple of minutes anyway. So taking a very long time. He was thinking about the lines, possible lines. Now he's confirming if they follow that line, which one is to win. This is very, very good game. Oh, black b7. I didn't think about this move.
Most likely take Italian or so. Oh no, not take the other hand. It's not working. We'll play G1. No, we'll get in G1, H2.
That way black may take left edge eventually.
H2, H1. G2, G7,
Hmm.
H6. Which seems like doing for white.
Oh. Oh, B1 or C1.
Okay, very nice. So, it's a win for Ayumi, 35 discs against 29 for Yoko. Ayumi is off on a very good start, 3 wins out of 4, so congratulations to her. To turn this game around
C1.
and manage to get a win out of it. Impressive. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next round.
Oh, it's going to be. It's a draw game. Hmm. Oh, it's a so good game. I'm sorry, my commentary is not following these sequences.
Oh, game finished.
Okay, thank you very much for being with us.
This
This was a draw game.
I'm
Round
missing
4, Takahashi and Lam. Thank you. Goodbye.